Welcome to the Regenerative Revolution. I'm Jackie Sersel. Today I want to talk to you about cooperatives. I have a discussion scheduled for this Friday with other cooperative developers, Carolyn Savory and Michaela Holmes, and we're going to be discussing this question of, do we need more cooperatives? When I was speaking with Carolyn the other day, we seem to have a little bit of a disagreement about this, and I don't know, maybe we're just looking at it from different angles or something, and so I invited her to have a discussion with me about this, and she wanted to bring along her friends. So I'm really looking forward to that conversation. But, I don't want to spend a lot of time in there just defining what a co-op is. And so I thought I'd go ahead and make this video, and then I can refer people to this video if they don't know what a co-op is. So let's dive in. So a cooperative is actually an incorporation structure. It is different from a corporation or an LLC or a nonprofit. It is a completely different type of incorporation. And there are actually laws and incorporation statutes in most jurisdictions, but it does change. It's different between different countries, even different states in the United States. And so you're going to have to look up your local laws to find out exactly how they're run in your jurisdiction. But, there's some general rules that govern all of them. And here in the United States, there's also the IRS taxable status of a cooperative, so you have to meet certain rules in order to be taxed as a cooperative, which gives you certain benefits, and I'll talk about those later. But it is even possible, if you're in a jurisdiction that doesn't have a cooperative statute, that you could just incorporate an LLC or a nonprofit or even a corporation, and then just write into your bylaws or your operating agreements the rules that would fulfill these basic principles, and you could get along, calling yourself a cooperative and getting taxed as a cooperative, as long as you're meeting all of the requirements. So what are those requirements? So first of all, a cooperative is a business that is controlled by its members, and the members have to be doing business with the cooperative. Okay, so there's three ways that you can do business. There is consumers purchasing products or services from the cooperative. There's producers selling products to the cooperative, and there's workers working for the cooperative. And so like your consumer co-ops would be like REI, producer co-ops would be like Crop, Organic Valley, Organic Prairie, Florida's Natural Orange Juice, and your worker co-op would be like Equal Exchange or Namaste Solar. There's a lot of them. Also, another kind of category that fits into consumer co-op that I want to mention is credit unions. All credit unions are cooperatives. There's even cooperative banks, but okay, I'm not going to go into that right now. Okay, so what I mean by controlled is that those one or more of those classes of people are members, and so you can decide for your co-op if you are either a consumer co-op, a producer co-op, or a worker co-op, or a multi-stakeholder co-op if you wanted to do two or all three of those together. You define which class or classes are members, and then those members would control the company by voting, for example, who's on the board of directors. And it is treated a little differently than other companies because it is more democratic, because it's one member, one vote, rather than one share, one vote. Although it's also one share, one vote, because members can only own one membership share. Okay, so each member owns one membership share, and that grants them a vote in the cooperative. And it is possible in some jurisdictions to have the value of that share be zero. You don't necessarily have to contribute money, but a lot of them do require some purchasing of a membership share. A lot of them, it's like $50. A lot of consumer co-ops like REI just charge $50. But for some co-ops, like, for example, Namaste Solar, it's $5,000 because those are workers and they really want them to feel like they co-own the business. Each member owns a membership share that grants them one vote for who's for the board of directors and some other membership or ownership level decisions. So whether we're going to issue more stock, whether we're going to acquire another company, those kinds of decisions are democratically made by the members. Not every decision in the company is democratically made by the members. have to understand this. Co-ops are not necessarily flat organizations where every single decision is made democratically. That would be ridiculous. Okay, that is not what a cooperative is. That's a common misunderstanding. It is not where every little decision has to be made democratically. It's just those top level ownership level decisions, like voting for the board of directors. Okay. So yeah, your members, they have to do business with the cooperative every year to be a member. Now, it is possible to have investors purchase shares. They're called preferred shares. In most co-ops, those do not grant any voting rights. So they're silent partners, basically, silent investors. However, there is one type of co-op called a limited cooperative association that allows investor members to have some say, but it's less than half. They get less than half of the vote. And so, I'm utilizing that structure in my co-ops, one, because it's a little bit more flexible and you have that limited cooperative association, limited liability. But also because in the Regeneration Federation that I have incorporated and I'm working on launching right now, investment's a big part of it. It's a business accelerator. And so we're wanting to raise a lot of money from, just crowdfunding basically to put into a revolving fund that we will use to start new co-ops. And because, we want to create a community of people who want to support cooperatives and support new cooperatives, I want to give them some say. If you're putting a significant, maybe $5,000 into something that's going to start a co-op, I figure you might want some say in what kinds of co-ops we start, and be able to put a little bit of pressure on us to make those co-ops successful. So in that circumstance, in that context, I think it's appropriate to give investors a little bit of a say. But in a lot of co-ops, that's really not necessary. In fact, a lot of co-ops just don't even have investors and they just take out loans and things. Now, how profit is paid out is also different from a regular company. Now, if you have those investor members, those preferred shares, that's kind of normal. You just pay them out a portion of the profits depending on how many shares you own. But for the members, we call them patron members, the consumers, producers, or workers that are members. Those are all patron members, and we pay them profits based on patronage. Patronage is how much business you did with the cooperative that year. So for consumers, how much did you purchase that year? For producers, how much did you sell to the co-op or through the co-op that year? And for workers, like how much did you make or how many hours did you work that year? Just whatever percentage, of the total that you put in, that is how much of the profit you get paid out at the end of the year. So here's where that's tax status comes in handy and where the tax benefit is. So if you are taxed as a cooperative, the tax that's paid to those patron members is passed through. So with a corporation, like a C Corp or an S Corp, no, just a C Corp. With a C Corporation, it's taxed twice. The corporation has to pay taxes on the profit, and when it's paid to the investors also have to pay income tax on that. But with a cooperative, if it's paid to the patron members, just the patron members have to pay taxes on it. The co-op doesn't have to pay taxes on it. So there's a bit of a tax break there for the cooperative. Also, to get the tax benefits of being a cooperative, the investor members can't make more than 8% per year, 8% return. So if you owned $100 in shares, you could only make $8 a year. So really what cooperatives do is that they set some limitations on how much investors can make, and they put the focus on the members who are actively involved with the cooperative. And I personally really like this. I think that what it does is it really incentivizes the co-op to stay on purpose, to do what it was made to do, which is to serve its members. That's the default purpose of a cooperative, is to serve its members, not just to make money for investors. And to me, that is really what we need in order to make our companies more responsible, right? People who are actually responsible, who are actually not just financially, but in other ways invested in a company, like they're there every day working for the company or they purchase from the company. Obviously, they're going to care a bit more about how that company operates. So for me, it creates another level of responsibility in the decision making. The cooperative structure also prevents the investors from pressuring the co-op to sell out to another company. You know, typically investors would put money into a company and they expect to exit, to sell all of their shares at once, 3 or 5 years down the road by like selling to a bigger company like Google or something. That's what you hear about these angel investors or venture capitalists. What they do is they put a bunch of money into a bunch of startups knowing that only a few of them will succeed, but they want those few that do succeed to make big returns to make up for the ones that fail. I totally get it. I get it. I understand why you want to do that. I totally do. You're hedging your bets. You invest in 10 companies, only one of them survives. You want that company to make a lot of money. It needs to 10x your investment or else you've lost money. I get it. But what that does is it makes the companies that are successful sell out. It sells out to a bigger company that doesn't care about the purpose that company was created to fulfill. So it's not good for the company. It's good for the investor, but it's not good for the company. So with a cooperative structure, we can change that dynamic. Now, this is why we need a cooperative federation. I am looking at the Mondragon Cooperative Federation in Spain as the ideal that I'm looking towards replicating. Okay. Mondragon Cooperative in Spain. Last I knew, maybe I need to update my information, but last I knew, they had started or acquired 100 companies and only one of them had failed. That's the last I heard. 100 companies and only one of them had failed. Why? Because you have this cooperative structure. You have a large group of people who are all working together, who are all invested, who want these things to work. And you have a capitalization and a team of business experts who can create these new cooperatives or acquire and transition these new businesses using expertise of those seasoned business experts. Okay, so it's not entrepreneurship, it's intrapreneurship. Entrepreneurship is where you have mostly young newbies. I mean, think Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook, like people who've never run a company before. I want to start a company, and you hand them $1 million and hope that they do it right. Of course, 9 out of 10 are going to fail. Of course, you're not going to have a very high success rate. But what if you took a group of business experts who have already started 100 companies and you give them the money? That's what I'm trying to get to, okay? That's what I would like to create. And I'm currently just in the stage of trying to recruit those business experts. That's why I'm talking with Carolyn and Michaela on Friday. I'm trying to recruit them. I want to get as many cooperative business experts together as possible so that we can create a business accelerator and start co-ops that are successful. So yeah, I think co-ops can be successful. Obviously, credit unions are successful. In fact, credit unions weathered our 2008 financial crisis much better than regular banks. They can be successful. I think it just depends on how we set them up and how we fund them and how we support them and how we incentivize them. It's all in design. So, but what I've laid out for you is all of the basic rules of what a co-op is. And if you'd like to hear more, then please tune into my video. I'll put a card here after it has been recorded. And I look forward to talking to you next time.